The space station floated in the darkness between stars. They called it Concordia Prime, a place where species from across the galaxy came to talk instead of fight. Today, it would become something else. Today, it would become the place where everything changed. General stood at the window of her ship, looking at the station growing larger as they approached. She was 53 years old, with gray streaks in her black hair and scars on her hands from wars she had fought long ago. But she had not come here to fight. She had come here to make peace. Behind her, Admiral checked his uniform for the third time. He was young, only 32, but had chosen him personally to lead the 7th Fleet. He was smart, calm, and he believed in her vision of a galaxy where humans could live alongside other species without fear. "Are you nervous?" asked without turning around. "Yes," admitted. "The Dominion has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. They see us as children." "Then we will show them that children grow up," finally turned and smiled at him. "Remember what I taught you. Strength is not just in weapons. It is in patience, in wisdom, in knowing when to fight and when to talk." Their ship docked with the station, and the human delegation walked through the long corridors. Alien species watched them pass. Some looked curious, some looked afraid, some looked at them with disgust as if humans were insects that had crawled out of the dirt. The Galactic Dominion had sent their own delegation. At its head was High Commander, a tall creature with gray skin and 4 eyes that never seemed to blink. He had fought in 100 wars and won them all. He looked at the way a hunter looks at small prey. "So this is the famous human general," said, his voice cold. "I expected someone more impressive." "And I expected someone with better manners," replied calmly, "but here we are." The other aliens in the room went silent. No one spoke to that way. No one dared, but stood straight and met his 4 eyes without fear. The summit began in a great hall with a round table. Emperor himself appeared as a hologram, his ancient face showing nothing but boredom. He had ruled the Dominion for 300 years. To him, humans were just another small species making noise. "The Dominion offers humanity a choice," announced. "Accept protectorate status. Your worlds will be safe under our rule. Your people will serve the greater good of the galaxy. Refuse, and you will stand alone against threats you cannot imagine." Stood up, every eye in the room turned to her. "With respect, Emperor, we decline." Her voice was clear and strong. "Humanity will not kneel. We will not serve. We came to the stars looking for friends, not masters. We offer trade, cooperation, and peace between equals, but we will never accept chains, no matter how prettily they are wrapped." Slammed his fist on the table. "You dare refuse the Emperor? Your species has been in space for only 200 years. We have ruled for, you are nothing." "We are not nothing," said softly. "We are humanity, and we remember every time someone told us we were nothing. We remember and we prove them wrong." The negotiations continued for 3 days. Did not raise her voice. She did not make threats. She simply refused to accept anything less than equality, and with each passing hour, hatred grew. On the final day, addressed the summit one last time. "I have a daughter," she said. "She's 7 years old. She asked me before I left why I was going so far away. I told her I was going to make friends with the people who live among the stars. I want her to grow up in a galaxy where humans and aliens can work together, learn from each other, and build something beautiful. That is why I am here, not for power, not for territory, for her, for all our children." Even some of the alien delegates looked moved. Ambassador, a moderate voice in the Dominion, wiped her eyes, but sat in cold silence, his 4 eyes burning with rage. The summit ended without agreement. As walked through the corridor toward her ship, walked beside her. "We will try again," said. "Peace takes time. We must be patient." General said quietly, "I do not trust," something in his eyes. Nodded, "I know, but we cannot let fear stop us from reaching out our hand. If we do, we become what they think we are." They reached the main corridor, a wide hallway with windows showing the stars. Dozens of aliens moved around them, and somewhere in the crowd, a soldier waited with his weapon ready. The shot came without warning. A bolt of blue plasma crossed the corridor and struck in the chest. She stumbled, her eyes went wide, caught her as she fell, his hands suddenly wet with blood. "No," whispered, "no, no, no." Looked up at him, blood was on her lips. Her hand reached up and touched his face. "Don't let them break us," she whispered. "Unite them, promise me." "I promise," said, tears falling from his eyes. "I promise, General." Smiled one last time, then her hand fell and she was gone. Chaos erupted in the corridor. Dominion soldiers seized the human delegation. Somewhere was giving orders, his voice cold and satisfied, but could not hear anything. He could only hold Spotty and feel the warmth leaving her. Hours later, the Dominion broadcast their message across the galaxy. They showed Death and called her an instigator who had threatened the peace. They said humanity should accept this lesson and submit. On Earth, President watched the broadcast in her office. Her advisors were talking, shouting, crying, but she was silent. She watched fall again and again. She watched her old friend die in that corridor. Finally stood up, the room went quiet. Recall every ship, she said. Her voice was not loud. It was not angry. It was something worse. It was cold and final, like the closing of a tomb. Recall every soldier, every scientist, every engineer. Cancel all trade, close all borders. Madam President, an advisor said, what do we tell the galaxy? Looked at him with eyes that had turned to stone. Tell them that peace is over. Tell them that humanity remembers. And tell them that we are coming. Across 12 star systems, humanity heard the news, and for the first time in 200 years they were united, not by hope, not by dreams, but by grief and rage and a promise written in blood. General had wanted peace, now she would have war. The galaxy expected screaming. They expected fire and chaos and wild attacks from the angry humans. They expected what every other young species had done when pushed too far, a mad rush into battle that could be easily crushed. What they got was silence. In the weeks after General's death, humanity did something that terrified the galaxy far more than any weapon could. They went quiet. Human ships vanished from trade routes. Human stations closed their doors. Human colonies stopped answering calls. It was as if an entire species had simply disappeared into the darkness. On the Dominion throne world, Emperor laughed when his advisors brought him reports. They are hiding, he said, waving his ancient hand. Like frightened animals in their holes. Soon they will come begging for mercy, and we will give them the chains they refused before. But Ambassador did not laugh. She had studied humans for many years. She knew what they had done to each other in their long and bloody history. She knew about their world wars, their nuclear weapons, their capacity for both incredible love and terrible destruction. Your Majesty, she said carefully, humans do not hide when they are afraid. They hide when they are preparing. Ignored her, he always ignored her. Deep beneath the red surface of Mars, in a facility that officially did not exist, Doctor walked through corridors of steel and light. She was small and thin, with glasses that were always slightly crooked. She looked like a librarian, not a weapons scientist, but in her mind lived ideas that could break worlds. Show me, said the voice behind her. Turned to see President standing there, still wearing black for. The two women had never met before, but they understood each other immediately. They were both tired, they were both grieving, and they were both ready to do whatever was necessary. This way, said. She led through heavy doors into a vast underground chamber. In the center stood a device that looked almost simple, a sphere of dark metal covered in patterns that seemed to shift and move. We call it the silent hammer, explained. When activated, it creates a disruption field that spreads across an entire star system. Every computer stops, every engine dies, every weapon becomes useless. It does not kill anyone, it simply turns everything off. Stared at the device. How long have you been building this? 30 years since before I was born, actually. My mother started it. She always said that someday someone would try to conquer us. She wanted to make sure we could fight back without becoming monsters. Paused. General funded the project. She believed in it. Was quiet for a long moment, then she nodded. Finish it. Whatever you need, you will have. On Earth, Colonel Minu stood in a military cemetery, looking at an empty grave. There was no body to bury. The Dominion had kept his sister's remains, probably as a trophy. The thought made something dark and cold twist in his chest. Minu was 45 years old, built like a soldier, with a face that rarely smiled even before his sister died. He had spent 20 years in special forces, doing jobs that never appeared in any report. He was very good at violence, and for the first time in his life, he wanted to use that skill not for his country, but for revenge. A young officer approached him carefully. Sir, your team is assembled, the best soldiers from every Terran colony. What are your orders? Minu did not look away from the empty grave. Train them, make them ready for anything. When the time comes, we will be the knife in the darkness. What is our mission, sir? Now Minu turned. His eyes were flat and cold, like stones at the bottom of a frozen river. High Commander, he gave the order. He killed my sister. I am going to find him, and I am going to make him answer for it. Not with death. Death would be too easy. I am going to make him live long enough to see everything he built turn to ashes. Across human space, ships gathered, not in one place where they could be seen, but in dozens of hidden locations. Admiral commanded them now, the youngest fleet commander in human history. He had not slept more than 3 hours a night since died. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face. But he was not broken, he was focused, had made him promise to unite humanity, and he would keep that promise even if it killed him. Admiral, his second officer, reported, "The fleet is ready, 700 ships, 50,000 soldiers, and more are coming every day." "It is not enough," said quietly. "We need more time." "Sir, the Dominion controls 10,000 star systems. They have millions of ships. Can we really win this war?" Looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there's body was cold and alone. Somewhere out there was laughing. "The Dominion thinks they know what war is," said. "They have fought other alien species. Species that surrender when the battle turns against them. Species that value survival above all else. They do not understand humans." "What do you mean, sir?" "I mean that humans do not surrender. We do not give up. We do not accept defeat. Our history is written in the blood of enemies who thought they had beaten us." His voice grew hard. "We were nearly destroyed by plague. We survived. We burned our cities in nuclear fire. We rebuilt. We killed millions of our own kind in war. We kept going. The Dominion has never faced an enemy like us. They are about to learn." Elder of the Neutral Coalition sat in his chamber, watching reports from human space. He was ancient, even by alien standards, and he had seen many species rise and fall. He had watched the Dominion crush countless rebellions. But something about this was different. A young aide entered. "Elder, what should we do? Should we support the Dominion, help them end this quickly?" Was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke, his voice like dry leaves in the wind. "I have studied human history. Do you know what they did to end their Second World War? They built a weapon that could destroy cities, and they used it on their own planet, on their own kind, twice." He shook his head slowly. "Any species that will burn its own children to win a war, what do you think they will do to an enemy? No, we stay out of this. We stay far, far away." The aide looked frightened. "Do you think they can win?" Did not answer. He simply watched the darkness between the stars and waited for the thunder to begin. Weeks passed, then months, and then, without warning, a single human ship appeared in Dominion space. It was small and old, almost a relic. It should have been destroyed immediately. Instead, it broadcast a message on every frequency, to every planet, every station, every ship in the system. And the message was General's voice, recorded before her death, speaking about peace and hope and the future she wanted to build. Then came's voice, cold and clear. "That was the woman you killed. Remember her voice. You will hear it again at the end when everything you have built is falling. We are coming for all of you." The ship vanished before the Dominion could respond. And across the galaxy, people began to understand that something terrible was about to happen. The first battle happened at a military outpost called Station Vex. It was where kept part of his fleet, floating in orbit around a dead moon. The Dominion considered it safe, protected by shields and weapons that had never been broken. It fell in 6 hours. Colonel Minu led the attack personally. His team came in small, fast ships that looked like garbage haulers. By the time the Dominion realized what was happening, Minu's soldiers were already inside the station, moving through corridors like ghosts. They did not kill everyone. That was important. Minu had given clear orders. Soldiers who surrendered were taken prisoner. Civilians were gathered and put on escape pods. Only those who fought back were killed, and even then it was quick and clean. When it was over, Minu stood in the station's command center, looking at the captured Dominion officers. They stared at him with terror and confusion. "We could have destroyed this station from space," Minu said quietly. "We could have killed everyone aboard without risking a single human life. We chose not to. Remember that. Tell your masters. We are not here to commit genocide. We are here for justice. Give us the ones who killed our general and this ends. Protect them, and we will take them anyway." He left the officers alive. He left the station damaged but not destroyed. And he sent a message across the galaxy, a message that was more frightening than any weapon. "We are better than you, and we are still going to win." Admiral's main fleet struck 3 days later. They hit a Dominion supply line, cutting off fuel and food to an entire sector. The Dominion commanders could not understand how the humans moved so fast, how they seemed to know exactly where to attack. The answer was simple. Ambassador had contacted in secret, giving him information about Dominion movements and weaknesses. She believed her empire had made a terrible mistake, and she wanted to stop the war before it consumed everything. "Why are you helping us?" asked during one of their hidden communications. "Look tired because I knew General. We met once years ago at a conference. She was kind to me when no one else was. She told me that she believed in building bridges, not walls." His voice broke slightly. "When I heard she was dead, I knew my people had destroyed something precious. I cannot bring her back, but I can try to make sure her dream does not die with her." The war continued. Human ships appeared and vanished like shadows, striking where the Dominion was weakest and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. It was not the kind of war the Dominion was used to. There were no great battles with thousands of ships. There were no glorious last stands. There was just constant pressure, constant pain, constant loss. Emperor stopped laughing. He started screaming instead. "Find them," he roared at during one terrible meeting. "Destroy them. I do not care how many ships it takes, how many soldiers die. End this." His four eyes showed something they had never shown before: fear. "Your Majesty, we're trying, but the humans, they do not fight like any enemy we have faced. They do not attack where we are strong. They find every weakness, every crack in our armor. And they learn. Every battle, they learn and adapt. We destroy one of their ships, and they change their tactics immediately." "Then use the Void Cannon," said coldly. "Destroy one of their colony worlds. Show them the price of defiance." Hesitated. The Void Cannon was the Dominion's most terrible weapon, a device that could crack planets like eggs. Using it would end the war quickly, but it would also turn every neutral species in the galaxy against them. "Your Majesty," Ambassador spoke up, "if we use the cannon, we become the monsters. The neutral coalition will abandon us. Other species will join the humans. We will win the battle but lose everything else." Glared at her. "I am the Emperor. I do not need lectures from a diplomat who has done nothing but fail." He turned back to, "Prepare the cannon. Target the human colony on New Sol. 100 million people. Let them burn, and let the rest of humanity see what happens to those who challenge the Dominion." Felt sick, she had to warn the humans. She had to stop this. But the humans already knew. Doctors, scientists had been watching Dominion communications for months. When the order for the Void Cannon came, they were ready. Minu's team was sent to the cannon's base, a massive station orbiting a gas giant. They arrived 3 days before the weapon was scheduled to fire. 3 days to break into the most heavily guarded facility in Dominion space and disable a weapon that could destroy worlds. It was supposed to be impossible. Minu did it anyway. His team lost 12 soldiers getting inside. They lost 8 more fighting through the corridors, but they reached the cannon's control center with minutes to spare. Minu himself planted the charges that disabled the firing mechanism. As alarms screamed around him, Minu sent a message to "Cannon disabled, returning home." On the flagship, closed his eyes in relief. 100 million lives saved. Would have been proud. The war continued, but now the Dominion was desperate. They had lost their greatest weapon. They had lost 17 outer star systems. Refugees from the conquered territories flooded inward, telling stories of human soldiers who fought like demons but showed mercy to those who surrendered. For the first time in 10,000 years, Dominion citizens began to question their leaders. Why had they started this war? Why had they killed a diplomat who only wanted peace? Was the Emperor really wise, or was he a fool who had brought destruction upon them all? In the neutral coalition, Elder watched the reports with growing amazement. He had expected the humans to fight. He had not expected them to win. "They are remarkable," he said to his council. "They could glass Dominion worlds from orbit. They could slaughter millions in revenge for their general. Instead, they fight with precision. They kill only soldiers. They protect civilians. They are fighting with one hand tied behind their back, and they are still winning." "What does it mean?" a council member asked. It was quiet for a long moment. "It means that General Stream is not dead. The humans are fighting for justice, not revenge. They are proving that they are worthy of respect, even in war." He shook his head slowly. "The Dominion killed the wrong woman. They created exactly the enemy they cannot defeat. A united humanity with a righteous cause and the strength to see it through." Deep in space, aboard the human flagship, received a message from Doctor on Mars. He read it twice to make sure he understood. "Project is ready," the message said. "The silent hammer is complete, awaiting your orders." Looked at the stars. Somewhere out there was the Dominion throne world. Somewhere out there was Emperor, who had allowed to die. Somewhere out there was the end of this war. "For her," whispered. Then he gave the order to advance. The final battle was coming. The Dominion throne world was called Eternal Glory. It had been the center of the galaxy for 10,000 years, a planet of golden cities and towering monuments to emperors long dead. 20 billion people lived there. most of them believing they were the chosen people of the universe. Now human ships hung in the sky above it, like dark clouds waiting to rain fire. Admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the planet turn slowly below. His fleet had fought through 3 defensive lines to get here. They had destroyed 200 Dominion warships in the final push, and now they waited. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we are receiving surrender requests from Dominion commanders across 12 systems. They want to negotiate." "Not yet," replied. "There is one more thing we need to do first." He gave the signal, and deep in the cargo bay of his ship, Doctor activated the silent hammer. The effect was immediate. A wave of invisible energy spread outward from the human fleet, passing through the Dominion ships, passing through the orbital stations, passing through the very air of eternal glory, and everywhere it touched, technology died. Dominion warships went dark, their engines silent, their weapons cold. Defense platforms stopped spinning. Communication arrays fell quiet. 20 billion people looked up at the sky and saw their protectors floating helplessly, unable to fight, unable to run, unable to do anything but wait. The silent hammer did not kill, it did not destroy, it simply took away power, and in that moment the Dominion realized how completely they had lost. Its voice broadcast across the planet, reaching every city, every home, every frightened citizen. "People of the Dominion, this is Admiral of the Terran Republic. We have not come to destroy you. We have not come to conquer you. We have come for justice. Your leaders killed our general, a woman of peace, a woman who wanted nothing but friendship between our peoples. We want the ones responsible. Surrender them and this ends. Protect them and we will take them anyway. The choice is yours." Then he played General's voice, her final speech at the summit, talking about her daughter, talking about the future, talking about peace. Her words echoed across a world that had never heard them before, and many who listened felt something strange in their hearts. Shame, guilt, sorrow for what had been done in their name. In the imperial palace, Emperor sat on his throne, surrounded by advisors who no longer believed in him. The power was out, the guards were useless, and outside his own people were gathering, shouting, demanding answers. Stood before him, his 4 eyes wide with desperation. "Your Majesty, we must fight. We must order our soldiers to attack the human fleet by hand if necessary. We cannot surrender to these animals." "They are not animals," Ambassador said coldly. She stepped forward, no longer afraid. "They are people, people you murdered for no reason, people who came to us with open hands and you shot them in the heart. This is your fault, yours and the Emperor's, and now you will face justice." Silence shouted, but his voice was weak. He was old, so old, and for the first time in 300 years he felt his age. The palace doors burst open, but it was not human soldiers who entered. It was Dominion citizens, thousands of them, pushing past the helpless guards, and at the front was a group of senators who had finally found their courage. "Emperor," the lead senator announced, "you are removed from power by order of the council. You have brought disaster upon our people. You have started a war we cannot win, and you have shamed us before the entire galaxy." Opened his mouth to protest, but no words came out. He was dragged from his throne by his own people, a broken old man who had believed himself a god. Tried to run, he pushed through the crowd, heading for a back entrance, hopping to escape in the chaos. But when he burst through the doors, he found Colonel Minu waiting for him. "Hello, Commander," Minu said softly. "I have been looking forward to this." Attacked, he was larger, stronger, trained in 100 forms of combat, but Minu had something did not: purpose, rage, and 20 years of experience fighting enemies who should have been able to kill him. The fight was brutal but short. Minu broke's arm, then his leg, then pinned him to the ground with a knee on his chest. "Kill me, Spit. I am not afraid of death." "I know," Minu replied. "That is why I am not going to kill you." He dragged to the nearest broadcast station, still functioning on backup power, and forced him in front of the camera. "Tell them," Minu said, "tell the galaxy what you did. Tell them you ordered the assassination of General. Tell them the Emperor did not know. Tell them the truth." His 4 eyes burned with hatred, but he was beaten, truly beaten, and he knew it. He confessed. Every word was broadcast across the Dominion, across neutral space, across the entire galaxy. He admitted that he had ordered the killing himself, that he had believed humans needed to be taught their place, that he had been wrong. When it was over, Minu looked into the camera and spoke. "My name is Minu, was my sister. She was the best person I have ever known. She wanted peace. She believed in building bridges. She believed that even enemies could become friends." His voice cracked slightly, then steadied. We did not want this war. We wanted what she wanted, a galaxy where different peoples could live together without fear, but you killed her, and we could not let that stand. Now it is over. Justice is done. We will not seek revenge. We will not destroy your worlds or slaughter your people. We will honor her memory by being better than our enemies. That is what she would have wanted. He turned off the camera and stood in silence for a long moment. Then he contacted. It is done, he said, has confessed, is overthrown, the war is over. On the flagship felt something release in his chest. He had not cried since died. He had not allowed himself to feel anything except focus and purpose. But now, alone on the bridge, with only the stars as witness, he wept. We did it, he whispered. We kept our promise. Across the galaxy, Elder and the Neutral Coalition watched the broadcasts in silence. They had expected destruction. They had expected a massacre. Instead, they saw humans offering mercy to defeated enemies, seeking justice instead of revenge, keeping their humanity even in the darkest moments. They could have burned that world, a council member said. Why did they not? Smiled sadly, because General taught them well. She is gone, but her spirit lives in them. They fought for her, and they won by being worthy of her. The galaxy had expected monsters. Instead, they found something far more dangerous. They found humans who were strong enough to win, but wise enough to know when to stop. And nothing would ever be the same. 1 year after the war ended, the galaxy gathered at Concordia Prime once more, the same station where General had died, the same corridors where her blood had stained the floor, but now it looked different. Now it held something that had not existed before. Hope. President led the human delegation. She was older now, her hair more gray, her face lined with the weight of leading her people through war, but her eyes were clear and her voice was strong as she addressed the assembly. We come here today not as conquerors, she said, but as partners. The war is over. Now begins the harder work, the work of healing, the work of building trust, the work that General began when she first stepped onto this station. Across the table sat the new leaders of the Dominion. The old emperor was gone, locked away in a comfortable prison where he could harm no one. In his place sat a council of moderates, led by Ambassador, who had helped end the war. Stood and faced the human delegation. Her voice trembled slightly, but she did not look away. On behalf of the Dominion, I offer our deepest apologies for the crime committed against your people. We killed a woman of peace. We killed your hope, and instead of breaking you, we united you. We learned a lesson we will never forget. She paused, gathering herself. General believed that enemies could become friends. We wish to prove her right. We offer full recognition of human sovereignty. We offer reparations for the damage done, and we offer our hand in partnership if you will take it. Looked at her for a long moment, then she stepped forward and took his hand. General would have liked you, said softly. She always said the best allies were former enemies. Let us prove her right together. The treaty was signed that day. The terms were fair but firm. The Dominion would pay for the damage they had caused. They would hand over all war criminals for trial. They would never again threaten human space. In return, humanity offered trade, cooperation, and the chance to build something new. High Commander was tried before a joint human-Dominion court. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Witnesses from both species about his crimes, his arrogance, his hatred. In the end, he was found guilty of murder, conspiracy, and crimes against peace. The sentence was not death. Colonel Minu had argued against execution, surprising everyone. Death is too quick, Minu told the court. He should live. He should see everything he believed in proved wrong. He should watch humans and Dominion working together, building the future he tried to destroy. That is true justice. Was sent to a remote colony world, where he would spend the rest of his life in isolation. Every day, he would receive news from across the galaxy. Every day, he would see the peace he had tried to prevent growing stronger. Some said it was cruel. Minu called it appropriate. Doctor received the highest honors humanity could give. Her silent hammer had won the war without destroying a single city. She stood at the ceremony, looking uncomfortable in her formal dress, and gave a short speech. I did not build this weapon alone, she said. My mother started it. General believed in it. Thousands of scientists worked on it in secret, hoping we would never need it. We built it not to kill, but to stop killing. I hope we never have to use it again. I hope that one day it will be nothing but a museum piece, a reminder of the war we won by choosing not to become monsters. Admiral was offered command of the combined human-Dominion peacekeeping fleet. He accepted, but his first act was not to plan patrols or exercises. His first act was to visit Concordia Prime alone. He walked to the corridor where had died. The bloodstains were long gone, cleaned away by maintenance crews, but in their place stood something new, a statue of General not in battle armor but in her diplomatic robes. Her hand was extended, reaching out in friendship. Her face was calm and kind. The plaque at the base read, "She came for peace. We finished what she started." Stood before the statue for a long time. He remembered her voice, her laughter, her unwavering belief that the galaxy could be better than it was. He remembered catching her as she fell, feeling her life slip away. "I kept my promise," he said quietly. "I united them. We did not let them break us. I hope you are proud." He placed a single white flower at the base of the statue. It was from Earth, grown in a garden had loved. Then he straightened his uniform, wiped his eyes, and walked away. There was work to do. Minu visited the statue too later, when no one else was around. He had never been good with words, so he did not try to speak. He simply took his sister's military insignia, the one she had worn through all her years of service, and placed it carefully at her bronze feet. He stood in silence for a long time, remembering the girl who had protected him when they were children, the woman who had become a hero, the sister he would never stop missing. "Rest now," he finally whispered. "The war is over, you can rest." Elder of the Neutral Coalition gave the final speech at the peace ceremony. He was ancient, his voice thin and dry, but every word carried weight. "I have watched the rise and fall of many species," he said. "I have seen empires burn. I have seen civilizations destroy themselves in their pride, but I have never seen what I witnessed in this war." He looked at the human delegation with something like wonder. "We thought humans were young, reckless, primitive. We were wrong. They showed us that true strength is not measured in weapons or territory. It is measured in how you treat your enemies when you have won. It is measured in mercy, in justice, in the courage to build instead of destroy." He paused, and his ancient eyes seemed to see something far beyond the room. "The humans went to war for one woman, and they won without becoming the monsters their enemies believed them to be. Let this be remembered by every species in this galaxy. Never mistake humanity's kindness for weakness. Never threaten what they love, and never ever give them a reason to unite against you. For when they fight not as individuals but as one people, and when they win not just battles but hearts." Years passed, decades, centuries. The peace held. Humans and Dominion worked together, explored together, built together. Other species joined them, drawn by the promise of a galaxy where different peoples could live without fear. Children in schools across 1,000 worlds learned about the woman who died for peace and the species that honored her memory. They learned about the war that lasted only 2 years but changed everything. They learned about mercy and justice and the power of unity. And in every human ship, every colony, every home, her name was remembered. General, the last diplomat, the first spark. She had come for peace. She had not lived to see it, but her dream had survived, carried forward by those who loved her, and in the end, that was enough. It was more than enough. It was everything.